Sony Pictures Classics. What movie is this? They just don't look like one of my cartoons. Frylock, what movie am I watching right now?
Oh, this is not appropriate for you, Meatwad. There's some adult situations in this movie. I really think you should probably go watch something else.
What are you guys watching? The Burnt Orange Heresy. Is it like a mystery? We must find who abused this orange and bring them to justice.
It's not a mystery movie, Shake. It's a very sophisticated drama about art and lies and all sorts of interesting concepts that I don't think you're quite ready to understand yet.
Why must you insult my intelligence every opportunity you get?
Because it deserves insulting, Shake, like a lot of other qualities of yours do.
So I shouldn't watch this? You know that just makes me want to watch it more. My curiosity is peaking.
Hey guys, anyway, what's going on? We are here to do a commentary track on the 2019 film The Burnt Orange Heresy. This is a movie probably none of you have heard of, and that is a crime against humanity. You'll be touched hard with wooden clubs by British police for not seeing this film. It's mandatory viewing. We're gonna strap you down like Clockwork Orange and make you watch it, 'cause you should. It's bloody good. This movie is kind of incredible, and it doesn't seem so on the surface. What you have to understand about this movie, it's very different from a lot of the stuff I usually watch, and a lot of the stuff I usually would be compelled to commentate upon. This is a fairly standard, on the surface, drama about a kind of egotistical, scam artist-y type guy. And as you watch it, you start to get a weird feeling. If you're awake, if you're paying attention, you will start to get a creeping sensation. And if you rewatch it, even once, it will, I think, for most people, become one of the most disturbing and unsettling films ever. This movie, and I know I tend to be melodramatic on this channel, but I'm being as straight-faced and serious as I can. I want to make this clear. This movie is more disturbing and creepy and horrifying, psychologically, existentially, morally, ethically, whatever. It summons up every feeling of, like, profound horror and discomfort in me because of how human it is. It's so grounded in what it does and the way it does it. On the surface, it is a very standard drama narrative. You might, this is going to be boring for a lot of people, so that's why you have to watch my commentary on it and like and subscribe. But anyway, the premise. We'll get this out of the way as quick as we can. This movie is about an art critic named James Figueras. And James Figueras originally wanted to be an artist. He wanted to be a painter. And this is revealed to you later in the movie, but if you know it now, it'll help you digest what's going on. He wanted to be a painter when he was young. He went to art school, and he got memed by the art academy Ponzi academic sphere into becoming an art critic instead of a painter, because he was disparaged, he was discouraged. Oh God, you can't make money as a painter these days. That's what every failed painter who had to be a teacher is telling me. You can't just be an artist, you're gonna starve, you're gonna fail. It's almost like they failed and they're projecting onto you. And he fell for it, and he became a critic. And ironically, he's now failing as a critic. He's having to do these boomer bait, fake Italy tour art things. He's basically giving lectures. He's like a traveling salesman, he's like a traveling playwright. He's an unmoored academic. He doesn't have a job, he's not teaching. And because of that, he is forced to hawk his critical writing, his takes, around the globe. And he does so in Italy, mostly to old people, because the audience is very intentionally... Also, I love he's taking a shit at the beginning in the movie. He's like, this is this guy's career. His career is bullshit. But the audience is intentionally all old people. He's extracting the boomer wealth however he can, which, you got to do that. It's a hustle we all have to contend with, whether you came from a rich family or not. it's where a lot of the money's locked up, right? You got to find a way to loosen it. And in this opening bit, this monologue, we're seeing him describe what a critic does. And what is a critic's role? Why are critics good for society and not worthless parasites? And personally, I think they are good. I think there needs to be a small subset of clerical people who look at our artistic products and go, these ones are better because we think this is why. That's not inherently a bad thing. However, if your society has an excess of those people, it becomes a problem. In any case, this is a man, remember, who wanted to paint. That's his real passion, is he has wanted to paint. And he has foregone that passion, and now he can't go back. It is too late. He cannot go, or he thinks he can't. He probably could. He could start painting anytime he wanted. The thing is, he has a mental block. He's like, I can't do that. I'm a critic now. I'm going to just be a critic forever. So he's essentially accepted that that's now his role in society. That's now his job. And he spends his time putting on these little magic shows. He's like a little magician, and he's like, I'm going to lecture to you. What does this guy's voice sound like? Everything I just told you about Nils and Nora, lies, 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 just a pack of lies. And when people say academics and critics are bullshitters, they're talking about this type of person, which unfortunately is not exclusive to academia. These people are everywhere, okay? I think there's a lot of them in academia, though, I gotta admit. I have personal experience with that. But that's not to say academia is unsalvageable or that it's polluted necessarily. I think it depends on where you go. Universities are very radically different, and they like to pretend they're all the same, but they're really specific to the pool of people that they're drawing from. Like fucking PragerU is very different from Harvard for a lot of reasons, right? That's an obvious example. My point is just that this type of person exists in history. They exist in culture. They are a magician, grifter, performer, liar type of guy. And what this movie makes very clear with its symbolism and with what happens in the plot is something that is a little linguistic turn of the crank in your brain that you may not have noticed. But your brain noticed it. And that's that the word liar, L-I-A-R, and the word liar, L-Y-R-E, are identical in how they're pronounced. Now, people don't talk about lyres, L-Y-R-E, because it's an ancient instrument that poets and songwriters and performers used as part of their performance. So Bernice Hollis here she can read this guy because she's not an idiot. She's an older woman, which are extremely dangerous. There's especially the single ones. There's not a lot of things in life more dangerous than an older woman who has accumulated knowledge about men. And I'm not saying that to be creepy. I'm not saying it to be misogynistic, because that just means I'm saying they're powerful, they're threatening. That means they're kind of cool. But in the context of this story, both of these characters are making assumptions about each other because they've just met. Okay, so this is the human drama, character drama aspect of this movie. Again, I don't analyze these movies very often. The reason this one will not leave my brain is because it does something to you when you watch it. There is a creepy thing that this movie does, and I'll try to explain it as I watch it. So they're fucking here. They're having epic intercourse. Relatively tasteful sex scene. It's not terrible. I've seen worse. But anyway, they meet up and they're just casually fucking. They're these two sort of drifting type people. They're at sort of the same point in their lives where they're a little bit lost, and they're just trying to kind of get by. Again, we have this painter who's too afraid to paint, and we have this woman whose backstory eventually we hear in a minute. Well, we hear it a bit later on. I'll maybe talk about it, but it's better to leave that actually for the movie to reveal. That'll help me discuss it. So we don't know much about this character. We know that Figueres is an art critic. We know that he basically lies for a living. He plays his liar for an audience, and the audience goes, ooh, ah, ooh, what a performance. I'll give you some of my money for that song you wrote. It's very beautiful. The way you described that painting, which you said was bullshit, I was so amazed that you were able to trick me that I'll toss a coin into your little magician's hat. What a good boy. That's essentially his life, which is a very bleak and depressing existence. I'd rather be a starving artist, drunk in a gutter half the time, but proud of what I do, than be this guy. This guy, his life is hell. And you start to realize that as the movie goes on. Now, pay attention here. He's got an ashtray. He's got this chunky handmade ashtray. It's like some kind of, art piece. He's probably like, I bought this in Florence, and it's made by a famous artist, and you should think I'm cool because I own it. I'm a materialist, haha. But he's not, though. That's the thing. This movie is not the reason this movie's good in part is because it's not trying to say some dumb political flag-waving talking point. It's not saying, this guy's a capitalist or he's a materialist and that makes him bad. That movie is not saying that even as any sort of layer of subtext that is not in this movie. That's why it's good. It's not some kind of surface level, skim the top of the milk political crap. It has a lot more to say. And it doesn't seem that way right now. I know I'm talking a lot because not much is going on that I really want to talk about yet. But if you watch this movie without my commentary, or if you watch it after you listen to my commentary when you're on your morning jog or whatever, watch the movie on its own, but keep in mind it's going to probably bore you. And that doesn't mean you're stupid. It just means you are exactly like I was when I first saw this. When I first saw this movie, I was like, okay, there's something interesting going on here, and I need to rewatch this. That was my first thought, and then I watched it a second time, and I was like, oh fuck, this is one of those few movies. I think I've only done this one other time in my life, and I know I'm overselling this thing. Whatever, I don't care. I like this movie. When I first saw this, it was on recommendation from a good friend of mine who has impeccable taste in movies and in art. It's not that it's impeccable, it's that it's the same as me. I'll say that. He likes the same type of stuff. We're cut from a similar cloth. So when he recommends a movie, I run away and watch it because I'm like, oh, this is probably going to be good. There's very few things he's recommended to me that I haven't liked. Pretty much everything has been amazing. So the reason that I want to talk about this movie is it did something to me the first time I saw it. As soon as I finished it, I started it over and rewatched it again. I've never done that with another movie in my life, because immediately when I finished it, I was like, holy shit, I need to see this again. You can call me picky, you can call me ADHD-ridden, autistic, whatever. Maybe I am. That's never happened to me. This is the only movie that I've ever done that with, that I've watched it for the first time, and when the credits started rolling, I wound back and started it again. So, he's fucking this chick in a hotel. He's like, I was invited out to meet a very creepy artist collector man in his Italian mansion. Would you like to come fuck me in the Italian mansion? We fucked in the hotel in Milan. I'm sure that was very pleasing for you. I'm clearly addicted to stimulants, like nicotine as well. And also, would you like to follow me out knowing nothing of me? Oh, you're an older woman. You're bored by nice guys still, because you went through your bad guy phase when you were in your teens, and then in your early 20s you tried to find a husband and couldn't find one. So now you're back to bad guys again. You have gone full circle. Now would you like to follow me, a completely unknown stranger, to an Italian mansion? And she goes, yeah, okay, whatever. Now, this is an important scene. He's telling her about this fake Holocaust story. Keep that in mind. This movie, its main character, tells fake stories about the Holocaust for a living. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's what he does to make money. So, he's talking about this painter who he told the audience didn't paint the painting. But then he's like, oh, I painted it. Haha, I trolled you. You just got trolled, bitch. All the old women, their dusty cooches breathed a sigh of stimulation. They were like, I haven't had a man lie like that to me since 1952, And she's cringing as I say that. That's great. But basically, he's talking about this story that he makes up as part of his magician routine. He's like, well, here's the lie I tell the boomers so I can extract enough money from them to buy cigarettes. And then she's like, why the fuck are you lying about this shit? And she's like, oh, it was Nora's painting. It was the woman. You lied about there being a dude, and then you lied about lying about that, and said you painted it, which was another lie. And he's saying, well, the actual truth is that it was a woman who painted it. If it's just about telling the truth, anybody could do it. He's talking to himself in this scene. He's saying, art, if you're truthful in yourself, in your soul, if you're a truthful person, if you have a truthful soul, you can make art that is beautiful, and it will not be based in lies or lying. And he doesn't think he can do this because he chose to be a critic instead of being a painter. And that whole worldview is going to be shattered in a minute, or in 20 minutes or so, once we get to one of my favorite scenes in the movie, which is when Donald Sutherland waltzes in. Donald Sutherland, he's like an angel touching down in this movie. He just sort of, the way they introduce him, the way it's shot. This is a movie, again, I don't want to get into talking about like, well, the cinematography in this scene is quite beautiful. You can see they've used a Sony f1.628 camera, and the lighting has been graded to this, and blah, 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 blah. I'm not an expert in those things. I have a buddy of mine who is, who could tell you, here's probably what they filmed this with, here's how they graded the color, whatever. I can't do that, but what I can do is I can talk about what the movie's trying to say to you without saying it. And again, I know I sound like a pretentious fuck in these reviews. I do them for myself, guys. This is stuff I do for fun. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it, you know. It's whatever. It's whatever, yo. So he's got this Range Rover. He's got a very nice... It's like an older Range Rover. It's like a 90s one. It's like the last time he had actual money, he bought a Range Rover. Now he's had to put 20,000 in repairs into it, and he's like, I can't even afford fucking cigarettes. I have to con boomers to get a fucking paycheck. This is bullshit. I should have been a painter. So, the premise, again, to get back to the plot. They've been invited out to this reclusive St. James Island type palace by a creepy vampire guy who is an art collector. And he's got this gay butler guy who's like, Mr. Burns will see you in a moment. Just make sure you're not late for dinner. He gets very pissed off if you are. It's like, Smithers, where are my crumpets? I requested them 2 minutes ago. I'm coming, sir, I'm coming. In more ways than one. That's not butter on the crumpets. Anyways. Jesus Christ. All right. So, this is like his dream, right? He's an art critic. He writes about art. He writes about artists and their work and their bodies of work. He writes about the people who collect them. And presumably that's why he's been invited here. He's like, why is this weirdo artist want me to come here? Must be to write a thing. And then he makes a creepy line. Pay attention to what he just said. He's like, I was never a kid. I hatched from the egg fully grown, like a lizard. Creepy, right? Keep that in mind, that he just said that. I never noticed that till this viewing. This is like the 6th time or 8th time I've watched this movie. I still notice new things. Also, pay attention to the blue sculpture on the table in this scene, because it comes up again. It's a blue female head. Pay attention to that. So again, he's telling her the story. It's like, this is how I started on the path to hell, the jolly road to hell. I believed a teacher when they tried to insecurely discourage me from being an artist and tried to imply that I had to join the academic cult in order to make something of myself, and I believed them, and so then I ruined my own life. And now you're fucking me in an Italian villa. Hell is nice this time of year, isn't it? It's like he made a deal with Raphael from fucking Baldur's Gate 3. Nerdy reference. I just played the game, give me a break. But that's like what this movie is. This is like a beautiful part of hell that he's visited, and he's brought this woman with him. And she's got her own issues, and they'll be talked about in a minute. But she's looking at the paintings, right? She's this blonde-haired, blue-eyed Pleiadian woman. She's like, maybe I'll come down and play with the lizard demons for a while and see what they're doing. She took the Monolith's Hell tour, and the Monolith was like, are you really sure you want to be in a Burnt Orange Heresy released in 2019? You sure you want to do that? And she's like, yeah, I've never been to that part of history, so sure, take me there. And he's like, all right, here we go. He's like, click your heels twice and get some fairy dust. I'll whisk you away. And I love this guy's casual misogyny. He's trying to be a badass. He thinks maybe, he's like an incel. He's like, maybe if I pretend to be a dick, she'll fuck me some more. So he's like, yes, men are reclusive and we have to isolate ourselves to be artists and not have sex or children. That's another important point. Keep that in mind. He's like, we have to be reclusive monks and never have sex. We're very celibate. We never do that. We never have sex. We're very cool and have control over all of our impulses and never do anything animalistic or crude. And I'm like that. I'm cool. And then he makes an assumption about the collector. He's like, oh, this guy probably collected this for blah, blah, blah. And then, who the fuck shows up? It's Jumpin' Jack Flash. It's a gas. Woo! Sympathy for the devil. Okay? That's not a coincidence. That is blatant about this movie. Sympathy for the devil. It's Mick Jagger, right? He's like, would it help you, Mr. Figueras, if I told you that I can smell bullshit a mile away and I could smell you on the plane coming over here? So he basically has this lizard mouth too, which is an excellent casting choice. This movie's like they got a clone of Kubrick after they killed him. They took some hair from him and they made a Kubrick clone, and it's whoever the director is who directed this movie, he's a Kubrick clone, because this has Kubrick levels of subtlety all over the place. So he says, your conversation was fascinating. Again, he's telling Figueras and this woman, he's warning them, the subtext of what he's saying. He's trying to psychically communicate with them, but they're too stupid to hear him, both of them. He's saying to Figueras, you're just lying to this girl. You really should just, be an artist. Why do you have to tell lies? It's your choice. I'm not even influencing you. And then he's saying, you're just telling her stories. You're just playing your little liar to her, aren't you? You little lizard egg man. I'm an older lizard. I know the craft better than you. I can lie 1,000 times better than you can, you little shit. That's what he's saying to him. And he's like, oh, you made the assumption I'm a recluse in order to craft your little date narrative for this chick that you're so cool. You made up a story about me not having a family. What are you, a dumbass? Of course I have a family. That's the most beautiful thing ever. You should have a big family and children. Why wouldn't you do that? Why would you make up a story about a lonely recluse who doesn't have kids? It's almost like that's your life, and you're trying to make it seem cool to this chick that you want to fuck. And he totally rips open his whole facade. He just decimates him in one scene, and he makes a comment that I need to talk about. I know I'm getting behind the dialogue here, but he makes another comment, Mick Jagger does. He's like, oh, my family, they were just here, lots of people and animals. You can almost still smell them. There's like a weird smell of sweaty children running around, like St. James. Ha ha ha. That's creepy, but that's not what I'm talking about. It's just a joke I couldn't help but making. But what he's really saying is he looks right at Figueras and he goes, it's almost like there's a child. Hint, hint. Keep that in mind, okay? He's again, this poor fucker. He's taken on a sort of a creepy satanic guise, but I really do think he's actually trying to help these characters, or he's just making fun of them because they don't know what their own sins are. That's also something the devil would clearly do. And I wouldn't be going into another angel, demon, whatever, Christian, Abrahamic tangent if this movie didn't call it up. It's very much trafficking in those ideas. Again, I'm a deist. At most, it's probably as far as I'll ever go. I like science fiction too much. It's a much better way of explaining this crap. Explaining why we're here. It's more interesting. So, he says, I summoned you here like one of my little damned souls from one of the pits. He goes,
Smithers, bring our guests some coffee immediately.
Yes, sir. Should you want me to serve them the special coffee?
No. I want them to live. Serve them the normal coffee, Smithers.
Yes, sir, right away.
So he's tempting him again. He's like, if you really want to be a critic, if you really want to be a liar, there's one final thing you have to do to complete your damnation. So he's basically Raphael. He's saying you're almost in hell, or you're deep into hell. If you really want to go right to the end before you claw your way out later, because all souls in hell eventually get out. It just takes some of them longer than others. But he's like, if that's really the path you want to walk, I've got a little offering for you, a little temptation for you, my dear. So he's describing a fire that happened in Paris, and there was an artist whose paintings all got destroyed. Kind of like, reality, if you believe in any theory that talks about a cyclical process, but whereby reality, the server for the game of reality is reset, or the universe goes into a big bang and a big crunch. Whatever you believe about that, most religions espouse that there's some kind of a cycle going on. And the paintings being burned is like reality being destroyed and remade, right? Really, that's just a hunter-gatherer byproduct of us watching the sun and being like, well, you can plant crops at this time and then they'll grow and then they die, but then they grow again. Duh. Like, that's how limited our view of the universe is. It's just an endless cycle, right? It could be completely different. It could be eternal for all we know. We have no fucking idea what we're talking about. But anyway, enough about that crap. Mick Jagger is describing a famous artist who just like in Figueres' little fake narrative about Mick Jagger's character, who he knew nothing about, he was just making shit up to impress this chick, he imagined a character who is a reclusive artist, which is not even what he is, because he fucks around. And we learn, Mick Jagger trolled him earlier. He sort of humiliated him in front of this woman by saying, "You fucked a lot of girls. I had my little secret agents look into it, you little tosser." And he humiliates him, right? But Mr. Figueres is undeterred by humiliation. It's almost like humiliation rituals are inherently satanic, and you shouldn't do them, because your sense of dignity and honor is divine. And when you humiliate yourself for some lizard man, you are stepping a little bit closer to hell. Keep that in mind. If you humiliate yourself for fun, for yourself only, that's one thing. If you humiliate yourself as part of some deal or ritual, then it's a deal or a ritual. Don't mistake that. Anyway, he's trolling him again. He's like, "Oh, you should be more talented. You should be deeper into hell. You'd think you should be in the 8th circle by now, but you're only on the 4th. Lust, or whatever one is lust, I forget." And he's like, "Why aren't you running a museum? You're a good critic. You're a good liar. You know how to lie. If you have a talent in something, pro tip, it doesn't mean you should do it. Just because you're good at something, it doesn't mean it's going to give you a fulfilling life. If you have multiple talents, you got to pick the one that means something to you. That's the trick." There's a nice horizontal vagina behind him, saying he's a pussy. Again, there's Kubrick details in this. I can't help but, especially because it's an art piece, you got to be a little more, schizo about how you interpret symbols in movies like this, if they're well made. And again, oh my God, this movie. I can't talk about some of the interpretations that I'm finding in the dialogue from this. He's like, "Think of what a splash it would make." Remember that he used the word splash. And he's like, "I could pull some strings, like playing a lyre." The dialogue in this is incredible. This movie, if you put it on a spectrum, Alien Resurrection would be its exact opposite. Okay? That's how good this shit is. So he says, this reclusive artist, this old man, whose paintings got burned, he's living on my giant St. James Island compound. He doesn't even come to the parties I invite him to. He's a real party pooper. And he hasn't made any art that this creepy lizard collector guy can sell for money. So he's like, "I want you to get this guy to give me one of these paintings that," because he's like, "This guy is painting. I know he's working. He's an artist. He can't not make art. He's not giving me any access to his paintings." And now comes the anvil falling on this guy's balls, where Mick Jagger's like, "So there was this forgery, and I know you did it." The dialogue is saying that in a roundabout way for drama purposes. Basically, he's like, "I know you painted a forgery. You were so ashamed of your art that you couldn't even own it, and so afraid to be an artist, so discouraged, demoralized, hypnotized, whatever, by academic lies, that you couldn't even go and make shit. That's pathetic." And that's really what's bugging him. It's not like, "Oh, I'll ruin your career." His career's already in the toilet, man. It's revealed in a phone call clip later on that he's in debt. He's been like giving people checks that are bouncing. This guy's broke. Like, he can't get any lower financially, right? Why the fuck would he lower himself even more, right? By being like, "Oh, my name would be attached to a forgery." And it's like, Mick Jagger's like, "Well, that's the last of your critic career. I'm going to ruin your one career." And in a roundabout way, he's trying to help the guy. He's like, "You shouldn't be a critic. You should be a painter. Why are you doing this to yourself?" The devil's giving him an out. He's like, "I'm going to punish you or help you. You can learn from your suffering that you're experiencing here in hell, or you can become part of hell forever. You can become one of my little Smithers demons. you can serve me scones for eternity. Better to rule in hell than serve in heaven." Yeah, you wouldn't be ruling anything. Better to serve in heaven than serve in hell. And it's better to serve in hell than serve in a diner, am I right? So again, they're playing a game. They're like, "Ooh, what if I insult you?" And he's like, "Say something bad about my character and make it sting." And she's being totally honest with him here. She's like, "You treat serious things as if they're trivial, and trivial things as if they're serious. That is a death blow." And this fucker is he's so dead inside. He's so mummified by his own ego and his own bullshit. He's hypnotized by his own crap that he can't see that this chick is like, dude, I just destroyed you. And then she's like, well, if that doesn't destroy you, let's just fuck then, you know? Let's just have sex then. At least we can do that, you know? There's a fly buzzing above him, a little tiny fly. And they're like, we're fuck buddies, we're friends, you know? And he thinks she's lying to him. He's so deluded by lies. He thinks everybody's a liar. Everyone's lying all the time. Everything's fake, you know? And again, symbolically very important scene here. Again, why do they keep showing us this blue bust of this woman on the table? It's a woman's face looking up. And then a fly lands on his face. A CGI fly. Oh, you shouldn't have watched the new Avengers movie. It's garbage. It's mental gruel. Don't pay attention to it. Now it's in your brain. It's laying eggs in your brain. And again, he said he grew from an egg. He's like, oh, don't worry, I'm lizard kin, you know.
I'm a scaly, it's like a furry, but that's a little too exotic for someone of your non-critical mind to understand, I think.
So maybe he can eat flies, who knows. Now, interesting scene here, they're covering up all the tables, you know. They're sort of shutting the mansion down. It's almost like that artist guy who owns it, Mick Jagger's character, I can't remember his fucking character's name. It's almost like he brought them here and showed them all the art just for the sake of doing that. And the mansion was only open for a day. Or it's, you know, something they do at the end of every season to protect the paintings from light. It could be that. A lot of stuff, light will destroy it. If you get sunlight on things, it'll like burn them, almost like they're vampiric, cursed objects. You need to cover them up. That's what I'm saying. So that could be a routine thing. I don't know. It's hard to interpret that shot of the series of shots of the maids covering shit up. But, you know, he's like, oh, you're not from Duluth, are you? You're a Mossad agent sent to hypnotize me or something. And again, this guy's on stimulants. He's on some kind of amphetamine thing, you know. In order to be a critic, in order to do something he's not meant to do with his life, that he doesn't genuinely want to do, he has to take a ton of drugs. He has to hypnotize himself with chemicals. And we do this with everything. Coffee, alcohol, sugar is like that. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. In this case, in this specific case, I want to make that clear. It's not a generalization. Sometimes I say things that I do mean to be generalizations. This is not one of those times. Basically, he's stimming himself in order to cope with his life, because what he really wants to do is paint. He's like, I had a funny dream. A fly flew up my nose and I hallucinated something. And this is one of those scenes I still don't know what it really means. It's hard to interpret. Because I think what he's doing is he's probing her to see if he can come up with a narrative that's close enough to what he thinks she's hiding from him, that he can make her uncomfortable enough to admit that she's colluding with this artist, that he's paid her to be here to fuck him, because it's implied that that's happened in the past. The other women that he's been with, this creepy lizard devil guy, knew about them, right? Satan knew. He's like, I know all your sins, James. Have some coffee, won't you? And he's like, now he's getting paranoid. And when you're on stimulants, if you're, you know, fucked up like this guy is and you're taking too much, you can get paranoid, right? Sativa does that to me. I can't touch that shit, man. Indicas are fine. They're where it's at. Indica edibles, those are fine. Sativas, I miss me with that shit. That drives me nuts. Now here's Donald Sutherland. He comes out of the garden, like the Garden of Eden, and he says, I saw blue once. Platonic blue. I don't even want to, I won't disgrace him by doing a fucking impression of him. He's a real one, man. And he's playing this southern U.S. painter. And he's like, I saw a vision, I had a hallucination of the concept of blue. Indescribable, perfect shade of blue. And as a painter, that's like God saying to him, good for you, man. You made some good stuff. I'm going to show you a tiny grain of truth. And he shows him real blue that's impossible to see consciously. And he's like, that was such a gift. I don't even need to do anything ever again. He's like, that was confirmation. It's like, you played a good round of this D&D game, my friend. You deserve to see real blue. That's a big fucking deal. And he's like, well, I was underwater and I was kind of almost drowning, but, you know. And he's being very, you know, he's exercising all the old man. He's older than this chick, right? He knows all the female niceties. He's very polite. He's an old-fashioned gentleman. He knows how to flirt without being gross and weird and stupid. He can say, well, aren't you a beautiful woman? You know, it's wonderful to meet you. He can be a fucking honorable, virtuous, polite individual who hasn't sold his fucking soul to some technology or some cult. He's just like, I'm just me, and I'm just going to be myself and try to be a good person. Like, it's not complicated. It's not a hard thing to do if you just do it. You immediately see a benefit from it if you're just a true person, if you're just honest. So he's like, okay, you want an interview, you know. I can't abide such things. And again, if you look at this guy, it's a bit obvious, but he's supposed to be God, right? He's a metaphor for God. He's a personification of God. He's like, I can't talk directly to you. I can't let you record me. I can't let you actually directly speak to me, because that would ruin the fun of the D&D game of reality. He's like, that would ruin all the fun. Oh, and he's like, what have you suffered? The king invites you to his palace.
Satan invites you to tour hell.
No battles and no 12 trials. He's like the dungeon masters of reality don't like that. If it's too easy, it's not worth doing. And oh my God, that line cracks the movie in half when he says, what power lurks in metaphors? He's telling you as a viewer to pay fucking attention to the dialogue and to the visuals. And what are they really saying to you? What are they trying to say about what's going to happen in the movie or what has already happened? And that's why this movie, you could look at a lot of those things as cheap tricks. Like, oh, it makes you have to watch the movie again because you watch it differently. Do you realize how few movies bother with that, first off? Second off, you could make the same criticism about Kubrick. Oh, he put a bunch of weird symbols in his movies and blah, blah, blah. That just makes you have to watch them again. That's just a trick to make you watch them again. Maybe it is, but it's a lot of fun, man. It sure as hell works. There's movies I've seen once that I wish I had never seen. I wish I could delete them from my brain. And there's other movies where I'm like, I'll be able to watch this till I'm dead. Like, there's movies like Stalker and 2001 and this. This is up there, in my opinion, with 2001. That's why I'm doing a review of it. Because it is so fucking rewatchable. I hate that word, man. It's worth watching multiple times. I don't care if that takes more time to say. These little fucking Orwell terms where it's like, I took a whole sentence and compressed it into one word. Yeah, I'm sure you didn't lose any data in that compression. I'm sure that was a worthwhile bargain. So he's sort of trying to figure out who this chick is. And he says, are you a stone or an egg? And she says, oh, I'm hard as stone. He's like, well, we'd have to drop you to be sure. Very creepy fucking line, you know. And he says, here's my routine. I have a routine. Like every successful person ever, he has some kind of routine. I struggle with that. They never seem to be enough for me. I get bored of them too fast. You know, every day for me needs to be a different routine because I'm a fucking mental idiot. But whatever. That's neither here nor there. Let's get back to the film. So, such sweet sorrow to part from you. Parting is such sweet sorrow. Ah, the poetry, yes. Did you find my blue under there? Did the trial of having to swim when your lungs are ruined by cigarettes and your brain is fried by amphetamines, you know, did you get enough of a strenuous trial that you figured out what the fuck's actually going on with you, what you're caught up in? And he's like,
No, I'm still a retard. I'm just going to go inside and towel off now.
And again, he thinks she's lying to him about her name. He's so used to colluding and schmoozing and networking with all these fake people that he can't look at a person normally. His brain is cooked. He's so used to schmoozing with people who are like, oh, I changed my name 6 times and I'm a critic and blah, 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 blah. People who are liars for a living. Which again, I'm not even shitting on that as a way of existing. You know, it's a different class that you've chosen to specialize as in this game. Good for you. You could even use it to do good. Like V said from V for Vendetta, artists use lies to tell the truth. If they're good. If they're evil, oh, stay away. Don't associate with them. And he says, oh, you're going on a boat ride with God. I'm not going to go. He's like, I'm too fucked up on drugs to even go on a fucking boat ride. I had a deadline. The pills helped. He's like, I know I'm telling you the truth, but don't worry, it's a lie. When this guy tells the truth unintentionally, he has to call it a lie. It's pathetic. It's so sad, man. This poor fucker. He's so cooked, man. And the movie is brutal about how it portrays him, especially on a subsequent viewing. It is horrifying. It goes beyond like, oh, I really sympathized for his character. He really suffered. It goes beyond that. This movie makes you look at your own life and go, holy fuck, I've been this guy. Or even worse, holy shit, I am this guy. That's what will... It's like a lightning bolt right to the center of your soul. How this movie portrays these characters, in particular Mr. Figueras, our main character. So, the real reason he didn't want to go on the boat ride, I know I joked about him being unhealthy, he's actually quite fit for a man in his mid-40s, but the real reason he didn't want to go on the boat ride is because he's doing the devil's bidding. Instead of going on a boat ride with God back to the spaceship of heaven or whatever the fuck, he's like, no, I'm going to go do some espionage for Satan. I enjoy that a lot more. So he's trying to find the artist's cabin, and he's trying to steal one of the paintings, which is what Mick Jagger has charged him to do. Mick Jagger has been like, you know what, I was going to try to fake some lyrics from a Stones song. I don't actually know that many lyrics from Rolling Stones songs. I never pay attention to the lyrics. For some reason, I just listen to the music and don't pay attention to what ideas the lyrics are trying to incept into me from a blatantly satanic sex cult type band from the 70s. I really should probably pay attention to the lyrics. Wild Horses, okay, I know that one. It's like, secret paintings, steal one for me. Now, here's where our epic Pleiadian mentions Nora, which is the artist that Figueras told her painted the painting that he conned the boomers with. And he's like, was James bullshitting me about this whole story about, oh, they painted flies on paintings of the Germans and it was a curse and boo? And he's like, no, that's horseshit. Like, he's like, that's bullshit. Yeah, the Holocaust isn't bullshit. But that story is, you know. The truth is that people died, but stories put on top of those real deaths to add flavor to them or make certain people money are bullshit. The deaths happened. That's the truth. And then he talks about Nora, and he's like, the men in my circle weren't good to her. We passed her around like a lie. We told a lie, and we told it too much. We milked it too much. And we abused that lie. And now, it's a tragedy. We had to kill the lie. You know, Nora died in obscurity. Nora, the lie, kept producing art. The lie had utility right up until it died. We squeezed everything we could from it. But there's a tragic element to that. It's like, in a way, it was a beautiful lie. But we abused it. Maybe it was a necessary lie. And we mistreated it. Like you would mistreat an artist, someone who plays a liar, someone who tells lies for a living, when you mistreat artists who are good, the good ones, your society falls apart. The illusion collapses, and with it goes everything else. When the story of your culture, whether it's true or not, when it starts to erode, whatever story that is, whatever lies are woven into it to make it work on a foundational level, when they fail, everything fails. That's what this movie's prompted me to think about lies and all sorts of other subjects. So again, here's Figueras. It's a very tense scene. He's trying to break into God's little summer house on the Garden of Eden. Oh, it seems you've injured yourself, and right at the spot where the fly crawled into your nose, you've now been smashed with a window. Isn't it interesting that the window happened to smash you at the exact... It was even the same nostril. It's his left nostril. That's where the fly crawled in. Door hits him in the same place. Funny coincidence there. Again, this movie is very Kubrick-esque. So, this location is beautiful, but it's sort of a dualistic location. You've got a very dark sort of sexual assault tunnel over there, which thankfully does not come into play in this movie in any way. And then you have this beautiful shoreline, but there's this gross, muddy kind of slop that's washed up because it's a kind of estuary, I think that's called, where it's a divot in the coastline of a small island where a bunch of mud and crap has built up. And God is saying, well, this universe, the demiurge, if you want to give him that, if you want to interpret this character as being an avatar of that also works, potentially better. He's saying, reality's not so bad. Yeah, there's some flies, there's lizard men, there's insects, there's aliens, there's all sorts of crazy shit, but it's not so bad if you can just ignore them. And that's what James couldn't do. He couldn't ignore Mick Jagger. He couldn't ignore the temptation of lying, which we all do. Everybody lies all the time. Some lies are necessary, others are not. Others are applied to things that shouldn't be lied about. That's the whole point of this movie. And of course, she's admitting now, she's confessing to our God character what her sins were. And this is what Figueras didn't do. She's confessing to him, I got pregnant. I'm pregnant right now. Early stages of pregnancy. And it's because I cheated. I fucked somebody else's husband. And I feel like a whore. And now I'm off on this journey here where she's saying, I feel like a whore because I feel guilty for what I did. So I'm going to go do it again and again and again because I need to feel more guilty. I want to punish myself. And he's saying, if it's just a mask, if you're just doing that for sort of a creepy female self-therapy thing, and women will do this in real life, guys, watch out. It's a creepy self-therapy thing she's doing, right? Where she's like, I have to reenact my sin in order to try to understand why I did it and what part of me needs to be addressed and changed and helped. And just by confessing to him, just by telling, quote-unquote, God, or just a trustworthy person, God is in the trustworthy people in your life that you feel compelled to confess to. If you have a friend who you tell shit to that you've never told anybody else, that person, they're probably a good force in your life. If you feel like you can trust them, that's important. Anyway, she talks to Debney, and she says, here are my sins. Now I'm sort of lost. And he goes, don't freak out, and don't treat this this moment of conflict and self-discovery as something that has to be permanent. And he says to her, I've put on so many fucking masks in my life. I've lied so many times. He admits to her, when she confesses to the God figure, God confesses to her. He says, I've lied so much that I don't even know who I am anymore. And now they're covering the art with white sheets. Pay attention to that detail. The art is being covered with white sheets. She notices it again. They give us another shot of it. The one thing this movie does that Kubrick doesn't do is it repeats itself a bit, but it's a much shorter movie. It's only an hour and 38 minutes, which is incredible to me. This movie, when I watch it, I feel like it's it's like 6 hours of insight compressed into this, which is, I mean, all movies are compressions of ideas, but in this one, it's like 6 times better than other movies. It's 100 times better. So she's walking around looking at all the white art, and she's thinking, this movie doesn't barrage you with quippy Joss Whedon dialogue. It lets you fucking interpret the actors' performances and their facial expressions. If you're not an autistic person whose brain's been rotted by TikTok and you can still interpret human facial muscles like a normal person, when you watch this, you realize, oh, the movie's implying that she's thinking about what Debney said. She's thinking, you know, my masks. What am I doing with this first mask I have of pretending to be a whore because I feel guilty and I feel like I need to be punished more, so I'm enacting my own punishment. And the fact that God tells her in that previous scene on the beach, when he's like, I don't know what I am. It's like if you interpret him as in a Gnostic sense, which again, I don't advocate that you should believe that. It's better that you believe reality is Baldur's Gate. That's better. Gnosticism is creepy. It's unfinished. It's corrupted. It's ancient. It's fragmented. It's like any other ancient religion. The time that has passed, the entropy that has been applied to those ideas is so significant that their purity is, at best, fragmented. Right? The single author who writes a creepy text and makes a cult, they have more legitimacy than And God, this poor woman, she's like, I'm trying to be so honest with you, I'm going to piss in earshot of you. If a woman ever does that for you, man, whether you asked her to or not, whether you're a creep or not, marry her immediately, because she's saying, there's nothing I won't do for you. I'll let you listen to me piss. That's incredible. That's more intimate than sex. That is such a personal fucking thing. That is unbelievable. Like, I know it's kind of gross and weird and lurid. I get it. What I'm talking about is the value of the gesture socially. She's so concerned about this poor fucker and how hypnotized he is by lies, his own and others, that she's like, you really need to just see the truth any way I can show it to you. I'll pee in front of you. That's the truth. Unfortunately, pissing and shitting, like eating and breathing, are so necessary for life that when you focus on those activities, they break the illusions that are applied to you. Sex doesn't work like that anymore because it's now been artificialized by fetishes and technology to the point where it is fake. Orgasms are mostly fake. Back in my day, 10,000 years ago, whatever, in previous eras of human history, I'll say, maybe most orgasms were initiated by rape. That doesn't make them any less true, right? Again, not advocating anything like that. What I'm talking about is truth versus illusion, and I'm talking about it filtered through intimate human actions. Most of those actions have been diluted and negated by sensory overload in our current era of digital HAL 9000 hell. They are negated by the fact that we have easy access to them. And there are acts that are true regardless of what illusions are painted on top of them. And that's what this movie's also about. It's like you can dress up your flaws, your sins, your shame, your guilt. You can, even shame and guilt are like the first layer of illusion. It's like if you did something and you regret it because your culture's told you to regret it. I know that sounds relativistic. I know that's a slippery slope down to nasty things. But it's true. Doesn't make it any less true. That's why it's dangerous. The truth is dangerous. So she's trying to save this guy. This is my point with that little tangent, is she's like, I need to help this guy. I'm trying to do whatever I can. Because she's not, it turns out, I'll spoil it now because we're far enough along, she's not some creepy plant that Mick Jagger hired from some whorehouse. You know, she's not trying to fuck with this guy. She's a genuine good person and who randomly encountered him. She was wandering around, looking for guidance, looking for help, looking for a person to meditate upon her sins with and potentially even form a new life with. She was looking for a new boyfriend, is what I'm saying. women will look at that action and actually give it all those connotations. I'm telling you that from the bottom of my heart. Unfortunately, I'm cursed with being able to think like a woman, and it makes me into a shitty, a shitty independent person, you know. So, Figueres has convinced him. He's convinced God. Show me the truth. Show me what reality really is. And God's like, okay, bro, you're so desperate and fucked up. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the truth. You want to see it? Ooh, you really want to see? Here it is. It's in this little room. The suspense. Oh, it's not even in this room. It's another room. It's 2 locked doors, 2 gateways. You must pass through both, the left and the right path, and then you get to see what you really wanted to see, and you're going to regret it immediately. You're going to regret your desire for truth, because you're made of lies. You are way above your depth, my man, to indulge in this movie's nautical metaphors. You are in over your head, let's say. There's nothing here. Now again, the surface level interpretation of this is, oh, he's just nuts. Who cares? He's a crazy old man, blah, blah, blah. He got traumatized by his paintings being burned, and now he just paints nothing, or he pretends to paint. But let's read the dialogue together. Or summarize it. So he's talking about the fire, right? And he says, I got so much attention when my art was destroyed, and so many critics, so many flies flocked to the corpse of my art. There's a theory in academia that I really want some of you to hear. I hope you're not in academia. This is something I've stolen from them and I want to tell it to you. There's a theory I think is true. It's a theory I got in a class that was very politicized and it was all a bunch of crap. That doesn't matter. The theory is this. For something to be archived or cataloged or put into a museum, right? Whatever that object is, whether it's a book or a painting or a sculpture, the culture that made it or the artist who made it or the ideas behind it have to be dead first for the thing to be able to be a criticizable object. That is true. Art critics are attracted to things that are already dead. They're like scavengers, parasites, flies. That's a very dark view of a critic. I don't think it's true. I don't think all critics are like that. I want to make that very clear. I'm being a critic right now, fucking talking to you about this, okay? But I'm not using lies like Figueres. I'm being genuine, which is why I sound insane. Because I'm telling the truth, and you hear the truth so infrequently these days that it sounds like insanity. That's a common take. So, he says, after the first fire, I made a meme. He literally made an early NFT. He made fun of the fact that his paintings burnt to cope. And people liked his cope better than his real art. Can you imagine that flash of hell as an artist if you made something you put your entire being into and it was destroyed by random chance, and then the thing you made to cope was the thing that blew up? Can you imagine the soul death of that? He's like, okay, if that's the case, I'll just paint just to paint. Because this NFT, this little meme he made in the 60s, a proto-meme, it did so good, he has a living. He's got Satan under his fucking thumb. Satan's so obsessed with him, he's like, God, show me what reality really is. And he's like, okay, I'll paint for you. Just give me a few decades. It's like, okay, I'll wait forever. I'm a lizard. I can live for 300 years. And he goes off and paints nothing. It is genius. This whole idea of God being like, well, you're Satan and his children, they seem to be obsessed with memes and cope and suffering and instant gratification and all this other stuff. They didn't want my real art. They wanted crap. So I'm not going to make crap. I'm going to continue to make good things. But then I'm going to destroy those good things. Because if you don't want them, boom, they're gone. I'm not going to show them to you. I'm not going to create them. They're just going to be gone. They're not going to exist. They will exist only in my mind. When he describes how he's painting, he says, I actually have a vision for what I'm painting. I actually have an idea. And I literally go through the whole technique. He goes through all the discipline, all the rigor of trying to paint that, and all he's done is he's hypnotized himself, the character, not the godlike figure I'm talking about, not the archetypal figure. The literal character in the movie has just made his process purely mental, purely imaginative. He has decided that the world no longer benefits from his real art, and he's not willing to degrade himself and worship Satan in the context of this movie, which is Mick Jagger, enough to produce things for people just because it's what they want. He's like, no, that would be a lie. If I paint something I want to paint and nobody likes it, then I'll just paint it in my mind. I won't produce anything. I won't contribute to the world. I won't do any good. If no one responds to it, or if so few people do that it's virtually irrelevant, I'm not going to do anything. And the way he describes cave paintings, man, holy fuck, that blew my goddamn mind. If you have a soul in you, that should blow your fucking mind. You don't have to be an archaeologist. The fact that cave paintings were hidden on purpose because the people making them were making them not for humans to see, that is creepy as fuck, man. That is chilling. This movie has ideas in it that if you have half a brain will terrify you. 1,000 times more than the fucking Blair Witch will. The ideas in this movie and what its characters go through without knowing it. I mean, what I haven't talked about, which I should at least mention, I'll just mention it to mention it. I haven't discussed the meme of the meta. Oh, meta. This movie's actually talking about how its characters know that they are in a movie. Whoa, it's like the Truman Show. That is the most dude weed kind of Reddit shower thought sued moment and way of interpreting symbolism. It's a red herring. Most of the time, it's true. You can say that about any art. You can say any art is political. You can say any art is cope for the artist's trauma. You can also say any art, it's about how the characters know that they're in a story, in the story. Those are three cop-out, bullshit, easy, nonsense interpretations. If you're ever on a date with a girl or a guy, and you go to a movie, and it's an artsy movie, don't ever try to impress the girl by saying, this movie's actually about how the characters, they know they're in a movie. They know their world's an illusion. It's like The Matrix. Have you seen Inception? I'm cool. Don't ever say that. Focus on objects. Focus on symbols. Focus on the characters' dialogue. Hopefully you're seeing a good movie. Hopefully you're taking your future wife and you're going to have lots of good children with her. Hopefully you've taken her to see this. Hopefully you've watched my commentary on your own and will never show it to her because this is not for her. It's for you. Hopefully you will show her this movie and impress her with the knowledge I'm giving you. For free, by the way. Just like and subscribe, please. Share with your friends. So, anyway, my point with all this crap, you can interpret this movie that way. You can interpret it like,
My God, I just realized I'm in a film. Holy shit, reality is a simulation. We're in a D&D game. It's almost like determinism and deism are the most basic truths ever, and that reality is a game that you can play any way you want. But your next playthrough is determined by how you play this playthrough. So if you want to serve demons in this playthrough, your next one will be slightly more demonic. And then in that playthrough, if you do the same thing again, you'll get closer and closer to the extra hard difficulty, which is to play the game in hell mode. And if you want things to be easier, you can get closer to heaven. But if you get too close, you eventually get bored, and you have to come back down. You know, it's like anything. It's like there's 9 levels of hell in Dante's Inferno. There's 9 levels of purgatory, and then 9 levels of heaven. It's almost like those refer to different dimensions of holographic reality. Maybe there's 26 dimensions. I don't know what the fucking number is. But the point is, self-awareness about life being a game is not some, like, secret key that unlocks everything. My God, I smoked weed for the first time, and I realized reality could be fake.
That's not going to help you realizing that. It will help you to cultivate self-awareness. That's the only thing that does. Getting drunk will do the same thing. You know, you sober up the next day and you go, oh, fuck, what did I do last night? A chemical influenced my behavior that much. It's the same shit. That's why those takes on these movies are like undergrad, high school level type of readings or interpretations or whatever of any form of art. Because they're the easiest, most obvious interpretations. They're not that nuanced. The work that I'm doing right now, improvisationally, is to look at the symbols and the specific objects and shapes and colors and dialogue and movements and blocking and props and scenery and everything in, for example, a film, and to interpret them within the context of the narrative, within the context of the object and when it was produced. You have to give things their due credit, and you have to interpret them in their own lane. If you interpret something made in 1920 using, you know, social and moral standards from 2070, you know, you're going to have a fucked up interpretation of that object. You have to use what's called historicism. You have to interpret things historically within their own context. If you don't do that, you might as well just be James Figueras, you know, bathing in maggots. You might as well be in a bathtub of maggots with James Figueras. You know, might as well be two guys in a bathtub of maggots if you're going to believe in lies all the time. So, we have James. He has burnt down God's little Garden of Eden shack. He has committed a sin, and we have an angelic-looking statue. It's got a bag or a cloak over its back, but it looks like angel wings. It's obviously a Judeo-Christian angel reference. And now, because he's done something deceitful, this is where he's getting his inspiration. This character gets his inspiration to be a critic when he lies or steals, when he sins. He gets energy from those acts. So now he's frantically recording his little piece for Mick Jagger. Because he's darkly inspired. And this chick's like, okay, what the fuck are you doing, bro? This is creepy as shit. I'm from the Pleiades. You lizard people really are all evil, aren't you? And they're like, yeah, we like to play the game on evil mode. It's more fun. You gotta have a little bit of evil to have fun. If you're having fun, what you're doing is a little bit evil. That's okay. That's why we're in Limbo. It's why we're in Midgard, Middle Earth. Because a little bit of evil is fun, you know? It always is. That's always true. It'll never not be true. It's hard to have fun doing only good things. That's hard. It's almost impossible, in fact. I think it is impossible. If you're having fun, the very act of enjoying a pious act, according to fucking Kant, Immanuel Kant, was if you're giving a homeless person food and you enjoy it, you're being a little bit evil. Duh. You know, what are you going to imply? You should cut your neck open and let the homeless guy drink your blood? Oh, I'm suffering horribly. I'm really good. Like, that is the extreme of piousness that I talked about in the 2001 video, where it's like, you can take pride to an extreme, you can take selflessness to an extreme. I think there are 7 deadly saintly qualities. I'd love to make a video about that. There are 7 deadly sins. You know what? There are 7 deadly virtues. If you're too good, you'll do no good. If you're too evil, you'll do no evil. Because you just end up being a target for, you know, forces of good, whatever that means. Again, I'm getting very general. I'm getting a bit off topic. So, Figueras is still in the painting. He is back in his epic hotel room of sex and debauchery and degeneracy. He doesn't know this chick's pregnant. Keep in mind what Mick Jagger said earlier, where he stared at Figueras and was like, there's a child smell. I can smell the baby inside this chick. Don't mistreat her. She's got a fucking kid in her, man. Maybe Mick Jagger's character in this movie eats children. Who cares? The point is he was warning Figueras about that. He was warning him. He was trying to say, bro, I can't say this openly for whatever reason. For the purposes of the film, because we're all aware we're in a film. Ooh, eyebrows read it. He was saying, you know, I'm going to tell you as bluntly as I can within the confines of subtlety, hey, bro, she's pregnant. Don't use and discard her like the 3 other women that were mentioned when I humiliated you in a humiliation ritual. Don't humiliate her like your previous hoes and just throw her away. She's got a fucking kid in her. She's vulnerable. She's actually struggling in her life. This is your last chance at redemption, man. You really gotta fucking go for it. If you don't, you're gonna be mine forever. And even the devil, that's what the pun is. God damn, this movie's good. The pun in this movie is not the title of the song "Sympathy for the Devil." Reverse it. It's that the devil has sympathy for you. The devil has sympathy for Figueras. He gives him an out. He gives him a chance at redemption. Because he literally says that. One of the lines of dialogue is, Figueras goes, "What do you want from me?" And he goes, "Redemption." He's like, "I'm actually here to make you suffer, to redeem you, you moron. And if you can't be redeemed, you can just chill with me in hell with all the liars and critics for eternity. Or you can go have a fucking family and a child. Even if it's not your kid. Whatever. The kid's a bastard. Or, can you control your ego enough to be a cuck? Can you raise a child even if it's not yours? Right? He could have been a teacher, not a critic, which is like raising kids that aren't yours. When you're a teacher, you're just a surrogate parent. Parents can't teach children all they need to know these days. They couldn't in any era in history. Fucking ancient Sumeria. This is a bit of a tangent, but there's a great clay tablet that somebody wrote, and it's a student from fucking Babylonia or Sumeria. And the tablet is a letter to their parents saying, "I need new robes, Mom and Dad. I got drunk and barfed on my robes. Send me new ones." Nothing has fucking changed. Nothing. In 4,000 fucking years. There's nothing new under the sun. So, anyway, my point with this whole thing, to get back to the narrative about Figueras, he is given so many fucking chances to be a decent human being, to not be a liar. And we'll see where the movie goes. Maybe he gets redeemed. Maybe he doesn't. We don't know at this point, because I'm assuming this is the first time you've seen this. If not, hey Christian, how you doing? Anyway, so he's like, "Oh, seems there's been a fire at my estate, James. Isn't that strange? It definitely wasn't you. You didn't burn down the Garden of Eden like a moron, did you?" Again, this movie is... I have sympathy for Figueras, again, like the devil, because he was in such a weak point in his life. It's almost unfair to even offer him a way out. It would have been better if nothing had been offered to him and he just stayed a critic for the rest of his life and, made enough money to live and then retire and blah, blah, blah. But God/Satan, that epic dynamic duo, have to play with human pawns in that way. Good and evil archons, or God and Satan, or whatever the equivalents are. And I don't know enough about the straight up. I'm an ignorant white dude. I don't know enough about the Hindu and Chinese religions to know who their God and devil figures are. But just replace the names with any one of them. They're all the same. They all represent the same Jungian archetypal aspects of ape brain consciousness. Pick whoever you want. They're playing games ping-ponging us. It's like they're playing celestial pong, and your soul is the little ball. Oh, look, he went to me. Now he's going back to you. It's pathetic, man. It's why I choose not to play the game. I don't play it. Homie don't play that shit. I ain't no artist. I ain't no critic. I do what the fuck I want, bitch. I drink, I smoke, I fuck hoes. But I don't fuck hoes. I only fuck those I love. But when I fuck them like hoes. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so let's get back to the film. So Figueras is he's stimming right now. He is 100%. I'm proud to, guys, I learned what stimming means. That's what James Figueras is doing in this scene. To all you 20-year-olds watching this, of which there are none, Figueras is stimming to get the painting done. Please, for the love of God, at least one person under 30 watch this film because of this comedic commentary. It will improve your life immeasurably. It is a hand trying to help you. Now she puts her finger on the painting. She's like, what the fuck? Did he paint this just now? Did he steal it? Did Debney have a secret stash of actual paintings? He's like,
I couldn't resist painting a few. The red, it was so beautiful.
God, her finger, man. Oh, God, the associations I'm having in my head seeing this. It's like period blood. It's like she's losing her innocence. It's like a pregnancy test being positive. It's like the apple from the tree is red. It's a human infant that a woman ate when an ape was starving, and it introduced us to sin. God, that scene of her holding her finger up. That is haunting, man. If you have a soul, that should haunt you, that scene. I know I just spouted off like 10 interpretations. The thing is, if you're turned on, not in a sexual way, if you're woken up, you will see the layers of symbolism in things. Your subconscious will start to talk to your conscious mind like it was supposed to, before language came and ruined our psychic evolution, came and interrupted it. Probably is an intentional challenge. It's probably the 10th dimensional beings being like, let's give them a fun foe to fight against. We'll call it language, and we'll send it down from the 8th plane to the 4th, and it'll be a fun challenge. It'll be an epic villain that they can fight against. And then we're down here like, motherfucker, we don't even know what this is. How can you fight something if you don't even know what it is? It's a bit unfair. Are we playing on hard mode? Maybe we are. Hard mode's always the most fun anyway. So, I talked over the most epic scene in the movie. Sorry, guys. Basically, she confronts him about the painting. He's like, bitch, don't you know that this lie, this golden turd I've shat out is worth 300 million golden turd points. That's worth more than a human life. Money is more important than people. I'm insane. I should pursue money instead of having a family and living in a farmhouse. That would be evil and stupid. I should instead make a bunch of money. Money is more important than reproduction. I'm that insane and stupid. I've been rotted. My brain is Swiss cheese. It's maggots and cigarette smoke. That's all it is. And he kills her. In a moment of meth-induced rage. Meth and nicotine. Don't combine those. She again. To play epic devil's advocate, she did try to drown him first. She did fire the first shot. She did initiate the assault. And you know what? Castle doctrine, guys. He was justified in trying to kill her. That's not what I'm saying. That's such bullshit. But holy fuck, man. He gets another chance. Can you believe the mercy of God in this movie? Again, personally, I know I'm using a lot of religious terms. Most of you, that's not going to bother. Some of you, it might. If it does, know that I'm not doing so to try to sell my particular corrupted, fragmented, bullshit flavor of an ancient truth to you. I'm doing so because the movie is trafficking in these ideas. The symbolism is evoking these ideas, okay? Very clearly. If you've been listening to the commentary, you'll know what I mean. Again, he gets like a third chance, okay? His first chance was meeting the chick in the first place, I feel like. That is fucking incredible. Like, the serendipity of her showing up, man. The second chance... Oh, were there 7 chances? Ooh, we have to figure out... Okay, so there's a number at the end of this movie, guys, and I'm not talking about some gematria schizo shit. That's not what I'm saying. There's a number at the end of this movie that shows up. It's like 7 or 9. It's like the number of... I wonder if that correlates with the number of chances he got. Oh my god, if that's true. Ugh. I just keep putting cherries on top of this movie, guys. It's just so good. I keep finding little hidden nuggets of deliciousness. Oh, it's perfect. James, you want to come to my island for a while? Hey, James, these women are icky. Come to this island. It's like Kevin Spacey shows up. He's like, James, come to this island. I know you've had bad luck with women in the past. Don't worry. I'm not going to let you drown me. We can do breath play all you like. If we die, there's a satanic priest who can resurrect us.
It's fine. We'll just kill a child and then use its soul as energy to resurrect ourselves. That's what we do on the island. Stephen Hawking hasn't been in his body for 20 years. We transferred him to a new one on the island. That's the kind of thing we can do here.
I don't even know if that's a good Kevin Spacey or not. Anyway. So holy fuck. He convinces this chick that he almost killed her as an accident. And she's like, okay. Good God, man. The number of chances you're getting. I mean, some of us are meant to be in purgatory. Some of us are meant to be in hell. If this guy is getting this many chances, man, you know, he's paying you, Cassidy. Yeah, of course he is. And he's like, well, no, he's paying me, but in a roundabout way. He's letting me get famous about it. And she's like, reality's not real, bro. It's simulation. That's not what she's saying. Please don't interpret that way. That is the red herring way of interpreting this. She's realizing this guy's totally cooked. He's totally fucked. The art world, you can't even see it, can you? That's one line where, well, you know, okay, maybe she is saying to him, you're in a movie. Okay, fine. Maybe that's true. But she's like, you didn't paint the fly. There's no curse in your art. There's no acknowledgement that the art was a lie. Because in the narrative about the epic concentration camp victims, that the epic Nazi soldiers forced to make epic portraits, they put flies on the portraits because the portraits were insincere pieces of art. They were made under duress or by force. And she's saying, if this painting's a lie, you're not acknowledging the lie. You're not confessing. So it's not real. It's fake art. And he snaps. That was the moment. That moment sealed his damnation. That was the final thing he needed to do to go to hell. He couldn't accept the truth. He couldn't accept that he was an unrepentant liar only once. The thing about this movie is that Figueres' character makes a career off of lying, but he acknowledges that he's lying. Remember or recall, if I use a pretentious academic term, recall the scene. Remember, that's what I'm actually saying. If I'm a normal fucking human, not a lizard freak. The actual lie that he does in this film is the painting. Every other lie before that, particularly the ones in his career, he makes jokes about it. He's like, yeah, I'm lying, you know? It's a grift, it's a con, it's a magic trick. I'm a magician, but I'm revealing my tricks to people I trust or even to my audience, right? That's pretty benevolent as a liar, to tell your audience, I'm fucking with you a bit for entertainment. And they go, oh, haha, you know, good for you. That was a good lie. Thank you for telling me that it was a lie. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for confessing to me that you were lying. That's all part of his way of making a living. He doesn't just lie. It's that he confesses that he's lying. The confession is part of the performance, the mantra of the West. The show must go on. We must perform for higher dimensional beings here because they're entertained by us being trapped here and having to contend with this weird-ass reality. They find it funny. Dante called his Divine Comedy the Divine Comedy for that reason. You're not in hell. You're maybe in limbo. This place is better than limbo, I'll say it. It's like limbo plus 0.5. I don't know. Whatever the fuck. However you want to interpret it. The point is that when you perform and you own the performance, you're honest about it. If you're honest about being a liar, you're not really a liar, are you? Because you're saying, yeah, this is my thing. I recognize in myself, in my soul, what it is. And I don't actually really lie. I don't commit a real sin. It's a performance of sin. And the problem is, Figueres reaches a point where he crosses a line within himself where he goes, this is going to be a real lie. This painting was not painted by Debney. That is a blatant lie. I am not admitting that lie. I am continuing it, enforcing it, advancing it, elevating it. I am elevating a lie as if it's the truth. That's when it really is a lie. We lie all the time in our lives. There are white lies, which is a weird term, but it is what it is, that we tell all the time. You know, oh God, I'm hungover today. I can't make my class on Monday or whatever. I've woken up on Monday morning. It's 6 a.m. I'm puking. I'm really drunk. I can't make my 8 a.m. class. I'm going to message my prof and go, you know what? I've got the flu. I'm sick. I can't make class. That's not a real lie, because you're saying I am unable to be in class because I'm physically sick. You've twisted it a bit. You've bent the truth, but you haven't shattered it into a million pieces. You haven't taken a lie. You haven't said, my grandma died. That would be a lie, okay? 90% of those messages, the people you're sending them to, they know you're hungover. You know what I mean? They know it's like, okay, this guy's fucked up. But at least you didn't try to show up and do a shit job. At least you said it's better if I'm not there. That's the truth that you're telling within the white lie. You're saying the truth is if I try to show up, I'm going to be useless. It is what it is. I made a mistake, you know? You're admitting. And in effect, you're confessing subtly by not actually lying. What Figueres does in this movie is he takes a genuine lie and he tries to masquerade it as a genuine truth. That's why he's subject to the fate that he is. And of course, we have all these exaggerated portraits of Debney, which is exactly what he hated. The artist, ironically, would have vomited to see how he's portrayed. A beautiful artist who's perfect and blah, 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 blah. And then we have these creepy, that poster we just saw with the two eyes, eye imagery again. There is a font they use in that is almost the same font as the Obey font from They Live. So again, the artist who was trying to tell the truth has been transformed or transmuted by demonic magic into a living lie. He has taken Debney's work, and the final Debney that's the only one that exists, and he's turned it into bullshit. He has taken the truth, which is that there was an artist who hated the fact that he had to make a fucking monkey with a gold chain NFT to be an artist, and said, fuck that. I'd rather make nothing. That's the truth. And he's taken that truth and said, no, the people want a much more interesting lie. I'll just lie to them. Now here's a great scene. This is the devil taunting him. He's like, dude, you're mine. I got you by the balls. And he's like, oh, you lost touch with Bernice. It's not like you killed her and buried her body in a place that I would easily know you'd put it, because you're a stupid idiot. Art can be such a harsh mistress. He says, oh, she'll float back into view. Duluth seemed a bit unlikely. Turns out she wasn't lying. You were lying to yourself, you moron. Everything she told him was the truth, and he is squirming. This scene is him being raped with pitchforks in hell. That's what you're seeing. That's what you're seeing. But he's just at a party. That's why this movie is deeply horrifying. It is terrifying. You're seeing something for what it really is. These fake, dead inside, soulless, damned people are mingling at a party wearing fancy clothes. But they're really in hell. That's what's really happening to them. And this movie makes you see it. This movie, like Debney was shown platonic blue, this movie is showing you platonic red. Why is the painting mostly red. Why was the fingerprint red? Why were they on a creepy, isolated island where women and children are killed? For quote-unquote art. What kind of art? Made by who and for what purpose? This movie blows my goddamn mind. I don't understand how it got made. It snuck through, is what happened. It snuck by. And it's based on a book. Same title. Look it up. Now, this woman, this demoness, with hair like horns, like curled up horns, and a snide fucking, I'm a smart academic, yes. That's her fucking soul, says, we know about the fingerprint. We see your sins, and we like them. You are in a crowd of people. You are mingling with people that are impressed by your sin. And now he loses control. He's like, just tell me that you know what I've done. Confess to me what I didn't confess. And he goes, I'm Satan, not God, you fucking mong. Don't you want to fuck demonesses and eat children? I mean, that's why you're here. You'll learn to like it. Come over here and meet some more child traffickers of mine. This movie is fucked, man. This movie's nuts. This movie is wild. And of course, Debney, or God, has left him a little package. He's left him a little message. What could it be? What else? He's trying to smile for the camera, perform. Good Lord, man. That ending to me, name any movie you know that has a more soul-crushing ending than that. And it doesn't stop there. The movie keeps on torturing you. All the stories she told him weren't stories. They weren't narratives. They weren't tales. They weren't yarns. They weren't lies. And at the end, finally, we get to see the real, last, and only surviving painting of this sought-after artist. All his work was destroyed. The supply went down to nothing, so the value is infinite. The real Debney is on a woman's fridge. That's the last thing he painted. That's the last real priceless piece of art. The value of it, anything. Some Saudi prince would buy it for 500 million. This artist in this story is so famous. And he signed it. Mick Satan, told Figueres that he didn't sign it, but he did. God simply hid his signature, but it's there. You just have to look for it. So like reality, Satan will tell you, in whatever form he takes, and again, replace the word Satan with any evil force or deity or whatever. I'm just using that because that's the culture I was raised in. Replace it with anything evil. Evil forces will tell you, oh, this is what God made. I'm showing it to you. This painting in this gallery with a fingerprint on it. The real painting is in a random house somewhere with God's signature on it. It's just, this movie, man. Whoo, boy. This movie will rearrange your brain. That's why I love it. It's one of those movies where if you get it, even half as much as I did the first time I saw it, if you get it at all, and hopefully I've helped some people to do that, hopefully I've accelerated your understanding of this movie. That's why I'm here. I'm here to talk about shit like this, because I have fun doing it. And I feel like if only 2 people see it, it's worth it. That's why I know I'm doing the right thing when I make videos like this. Instead of writing other things or making other things for other people about nonsense that I don't care about. Anyway, guys, Credits are rolling. We're at an hour and 34 minutes. I'm going to end the recording here. Thank you very much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun talking about this. I had a lot to say. Like the Kubrick film, 2001, I could talk for 6 hours about all the shit in this movie. You know, for example, I forgot to mention the blue bust, right? It was her drowning. The female head on the table, that was a hint that Bernice was going to drown. You know, there's a bunch of splash and drowning hints in the dialogue. There's all sorts of epic little Rubik's Cubes you can solve with your autistic brain. Again, those are kind of red herrings. I don't like the whole meta interpretation. That's not what's important. The important thing is the character's behavior and what he sacrificed. And what I'll say right before I end things. Again, I meant to say this. I hope you haven't clicked off the video. What I meant to say, maybe it's best if you do click off before this point. Figueres sacrificed having a normal life and a family for his art, which was bullshit, which you shouldn't do. Even if you're artistically inclined, find a woman, have a child, procreate, do things the normal human ape way. Because if you don't, it will disappear and be replaced by something 1,000 times worse. Yes, it's shitty to be in a human body. Yes, we suffer. Women suffer in childbirth. Men suffer as providers. If you're one of Hal's or Mick Jagger's little satanic digital demon cucks, it's going to be worse. Trust me. Anyway, with that having been said, on that cheery note, take some vitamin D, get some sun, drink some water, filtered water, and, as always, guys,
Peace out.